who am I? 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 14. David's on his deathbed and he looks up towards heaven and he says these words, who am I? Two of the greatest men of God that have basically walked the face of this earth. One was known as the greatest prophet. The other one was known as the greatest king outside of Jesus. And the most intense thing is this. Both of them were having identity problems. Both of them did not know who they were. Not in man's eyes or in God's eyes. First one is Moses. Moses is sitting there. And he was raised in the Pharaoh's house. The very man that tried to kill him ended up raising him. And here's Moses, and God's got a mandate on his life. And as he's walking through the wilderness, it says that he saw a bush that was on fire but was not consumed. It sounds like a lot of teenagers I know. They're on fire but they're not consumed by God. And it says that he saw it and he marveled at it and he began to look, and out of this bush came the voice of God, and he said these words, Moses, Moses. Moses said, I am here. And he began to walk towards the bush, and all of a sudden the Lord told him to take off his shoes. Two reasons that God tells you to take off your shoes. Number one, God doesn't want you tracking in where you've been into His presence. What are you talking about? On the bottom of your shoe is residue of where you've walked. Through the mud and through the mire and through the things of this life. And God is saying, listen, I don't care about where you've been, but don't bring where you've been into where I am. Take your shoes off, Moses. This is holy ground. The second reason that God tells you to take off your shoes is because God wants to take your vehicle of transportation of escape away. He said, if you're going to run from me, I'm going to make it harder for you. A lot of us have been running from God a whole long time. And Moses begins to go, and God all of a sudden says to him, he says, Moses, I'm going to use you to lead millions of people out of captivity. And as Moses is beginning to think about this and begin to wonder, his insecurity began to arise. And he says, but God, who am I? He said, how can I talk? I'm a stutterer. I'm not a fancy speaker. He said, I can't do this. And God says, wait a second, Moses, it's not about you, it's about me. What Moses was really saying is, who do you see that I don't see, God? The second man is David. King David started his public stardom. At 17 years old, a man comes in and he's working in the field, and a man by the name of Samuel comes in and says, hey, listen, God's anointed you as king, and he begins to dump this oil and it begins to flow over him. He shouldn't have been king. His brothers were stronger. His brothers were better warriors. His brothers were probably better leaders. But David had a heart after God. And all of a sudden, he's anointed as king. And then the next chapter, we're finding David. He's actually back at the sheep, the field, watching the sheep. And his dad comes up. And he says, listen, David, I need you to find out what's going on with your brothers. And I need you to go get some cheese and crackers and take it to them. David shows up at this battlefield where the Israelites, now hear me on this. David goes to this battlefield where for 40 days and 40 nights, it says that the Israelites, they had their tents and they were about to fight the Philistines. And every day, every morning, every night, they would go out and draw the battle lines. What were they saying? It says that they would draw these battle lines and they were ready to fight the Philistines. For 40 days, 2 times a day, morning and night, 80 times, they went to draw this battle line and begin to start a war with the Philistines. It sounds like a lot of us in this room that we say, we're going to do this, but all of a sudden it says that Goliath, his nickname was the shock warrior, he'd come out of his tent, and as he came out of his tent, the children of Israel would begin to run away. Can I tell you, the enemy knows exactly how to intimidate you. And they're found hiding behind these tents. And as they're hiding behind these tents, it says that David showed up. And I can imagine David looking at his older brothers who's supposed to be these mighty warriors, and they're hiding. And David's going, what are you doing? David, get over here. Why? You scared of that big old knucklehead? I'll knock that sucker out.